Hi, hello everybody. Myself Pawan Kumar, HR professional. Today, let me share my thoughts with respect to definition of wages under labor codes. At present, all the labor legislation having its own distinct wage definition for its compliance. However, labor code provided a uniform wage definition with an intent to minimize litigation and to ensure ease of compliance. There is a lot of news on the social media that once on implementation of the labor codes, employees take home salary may likely to take a hit and employers may need to face additional financial burden. Is it really so? If you ask me, the answer to this question may be yes or no. It's all depending upon the current compensation or salary structure of your company. Let us examine what exactly definition of wages talks about under labor code. Wages under a wage definition. Wages means all remuneration whether by way of salaries, allowances or otherwise, with the terms of employment expressed or implied, be payable to a person employed in respect of his employment or work done in such employment. The wage definition under labor codes comprises of two parts. Number one, inclusion components like basic pay, dearness allowances, and retaining allowances. Retaining allowances is the allowances being paid to retain the employee during the period in which the establishment is not working. Second part consists of exclusion components, that is statutory bonus, some paid to defray special expenses, commission, value of house accommodation, house rent allowances, contribution paid by the employer towards provident fund and pension fund, remuneration payable under any award or settlement, overtime allowances. Some of these specified exclusions should not exceed 50% of the total remuneration. In the event it exceeds, the excess of such amount shall be deemed as remuneration and will be treated as wages for all the statutory calculations. The intention of the legislation is very clear. Statutory contribution should be made at least 50% of the total remuneration. Once on implementation of the labor codes, we may likely encounter certain key issues with respect on our journey to ensure 100% compliance. Let us discuss what are they. Minimum Wages Act 1948. Currently, wage definition under Minimum Wages Act includes HRA as wages. Thus, employer can able to split the minimum wages as basic DA and HRA. As long as wages are structured as per Section 2H of Minimum Wages Act, authority can't insist employer to pay minimum wages as basic and DA alone. And there is an apex court judgment supporting the above in the case of Air Freight India versus State of Karnataka. Whereas the new wage definition under labor codes excludes HRA as wages. Thus, there might be possibility authorities may insist employees to pay minimum wages as basic and DA alone. Payment of Gratuity Act. Today we are paying gratuity only on the basic and DA. The reason being definition of wages, that is Section 2S of Payment of Gratuity Act, clearly excludes bonus, commission, house rent allowances, overtime wages, and any other allowances from the definition of the wages. Thus, we are paying gratuity only on the basic and DA. Whereas the wage definition under labor code is entirely different. We need to pay gratuity if some of inclusion components are greater than sum of exclusion components, then we need to pay gratuity on the last drawn sum of inclusion components. Else, we need to pay gratuity on the 50% of the total remuneration. Here, in the payment of gratuity, we may encounter one major issue. So, till date, a bonus has not been considered as wages, whereas in the definition of wages under labor codes, bonus is being the part of exclusion components with subject to ceiling of 50%. Suppose if exclusion components exceed 50% total remuneration, then we may need to take 50% of the total remuneration for all the statutory calculations. I will take you through the live example. If you see here, X and Y both served the employer for about 5 years, and their salaries are one and the same. Their inclusion components is higher than the exclusion components. That is 14,000, and exclusion components is about 1,100. Put all together, their gross wages per month is 15,100. One X person leaves the job in the month of September. So sum of inclusion component, that is 14,000, is calculated as wages for all the calculations, be it provident fund, ESIC, or for the payment of gratuity, because last drawn wages. Whereas Y person leaves the job in the month of October, in which bonus is being paid. Moment the bonus is being paid, there is a possibility some of your exclusion component may exceed 50% of the total remuneration. The moment it exceeds, we need to consider 50% of the total remuneration as wages for all the statutory calculations. See here, inclusion components is 14,000, whereas the total gross wages is 40,100. because the moment bonus is being paid, exclusion components may exceed 50% of the total remuneration. Thus, we need to pay 50% of total remuneration for all the statutory calculations. Like, so here we have been considered 20,000 50, that 50 for all the statutory calculations, be it Provident Fund, ESIC, and gratuity. Because the section 42 of Payment of Gratuity Act and section 36 of Social Security Code says gratuity should be paid based on the rate of wages last drawn by the employee concerned. Here, both the employees, their services are one and the same. They have been left after serving for a period of 1 year, but there is a difference in gratuity. This may likely to lead to an issues. We may need to check with the authorities how to go about it, or we may need to raise our concern with the concerned authorities to get it clarified. Employee State Insurance Act 1948. Today, we are not considering bonus as wages for ESIC calculation. Any amount which is being paid at intervals exceeding 2 months will not be treated as wages for ESIC calculation as per the definition of wages under ESIC Act. Whereas wages under labor codes, bonus may also form the part of wages if sum of exclusion components during the month in which bonus is being paid exceed 50% total remuneration. The one major problem we may encounter here is that currently, if the employee total wages exceeds about 21,000 in between the contribution period, you need to contribute till the end of the contribution period. As we are all aware that contribution period is April to September, and the second contribution period is from October to March. In between, if the employee salaries exceed, but still we need to continue to contribute till the end of the contribution period as per the current status. But however, because of change in definition of wages, suppose there are companies, they used to pay bonus in the month of April. Because the bonus is being paid in the month of April, there might be possibility that employee total wages may exceed about 21,000. In the event, we need not to pay ESIC wages in the month of April. When you're not paying in the month of April, what about for the rest of the contribution period? This is the subject matter for debate that we may also need to re-clarify with the authorities how to go about it. Let us see impact of new wages, impact of new wage definition against existing definition under different statutes. Here the example has been taken. Total gross wages is about 23,800, and sum of inclusion components, that is basic and dearness allowances put all together is 10,000. So in the given example, sum of exclusion components are greater than sum of inclusion components. Thus, as per the wage definition under the labor codes, we may need to take 50% of the total remuneration. So 50% of 23,800 works out to be 11,800 stands as wages for all the calculations, be it Payment of Gratuity Act, be it Employee Provident Fund, be it Employee State Insurance Act, Payment of Bonus Act, Maternity Benefit Act. Whereas as compared to the existing wage definition stands in different statutes, Minimum Wages Act and Payment of Wages Act wage definition remains in. That is basic D and HRA forms a part of minimum wages. And the Provident Fund, as per the recent Supreme Court judgment, all allowances forms a part of wages, excluding house rent allowances, then contribution paid by the employer towards Provident Fund, then the statutory bonus, then production linked incentive schemes, if any. Employee State Insurance Act, total gross minus washing allowances and contribution paid by employer towards PF fund and statutory bonus will not form the part of wages. Maternity Benefit Act. Here you can see the example. See right now, gratuity, in the payment of gratuity, earlier it is 10,000. Now with the new wage definition, it has been gone up 11,000. It has been gone up, and again Employee State Insurance Act, earlier it is 19,000. Now now it is 11,900. So employees and employer ESIC contribution towards ESIC may likely to get reduced. And when you've been talking about maternity benefit, see right now, today ESIC pays 20,000 as 20,000 if the women employees goes on maternity leave. But henceforth they may likely to pay 11,900. The reason being ESIC pays basis the amount on which the contribution made by the concerned employee. Today they have been contributing ESIC on the total wages, whereas once the new code gets implemented, once the new code gets implemented, as their ESIC contribution, ESIC employee contribution may likely to get reduced. So there is a possibility maternity benefit may also likely to be get reduced. As I told, maternity benefit is a subject matter for debate because social security always the benefit should not be brought down. But however, in the case of maternity benefit, if you talk about based on the new wage definition, there is a possibility their maternity benefit may likely come down. As I told, ESIC earlier they used to contribute ESIC on the total gross wages. Once on the implementation of the labor code, they may likely to contribute on the whichever 50% of total remuneration or some of inclusion components. As I shown in the previous example, it is 11,900. So when they've been contributing ESIC for 20,000, their contribution will be on the higher side. When they've been contributing for 11,900, contribution will be on the lesser side. ESIC, though the standard benefit rate by ESIC remains same towards maternity, but however, ESIC will pay the maternity benefit based the wages on which the contribution has been made by the employee. As I told in the beginning of my presentation, whether the employee's take-home salary will get reduced or will increase, or employers need to face additional financial burden. It's all depending upon the compensation structure of your company. Here in the given example, before wage code, the total gross is 11,894. Even after wage code, the total gross remains the same. But however, your logics for calculation of provident fund, ESIC and gratuity may likely to get changed because of the change in definition of wages under labor codes. Here in the given example, employee provident fund being calculated on a basic DA, special allowances and washing allowances, that works out to be 1,427, and ESIC on the total gross minus washing allowances, that is 367. Total CTC is 13,688. Whereas once after the wage code implementation, sum of inclusion components are higher than the sum of exclusion components. Thus, we need to pay PF contribution will be on 9,100 plus 1,694, and the same amount, same sum of inclusion components become wages for both PF, ESIC as well as gratuity. Here in the given example, there is no additional cost for the employer, and no reduction in employees take home salary. Then scenario 2, here in the given example, before wage code implementation, after wage code implementation, the total gross is 26,209, whereas the logics that will differ for calculating the wages for statutory calculations. Here in the given example, sum of inclusion components are lesser than the sum of exclusion components. Thus, we need to calculate, we need to consider 50% of the total gross. That works out to be 13,104. That remains wages for both PF as well as ESIC. Here in the first example, before wage code implementation, the person total salary is about 21,000. Thus, you will not be falling under the purview of the ESIC Act. Whereas once after the implementation of the wage code, there is possibility that employees who are not falling under the purview of the ESIC Act may also fall under the purview of the ESIC Act. Thus, the employer need not to take insurance, particularly with respect to Workmen Compensation Act. Here you can see there is an increase in gratuity for both after wage code implementation and before wage code implementation. If you see here, PF contributions has come down because currently we have been contributing on the total gross minus some excluding components. Whereas once after the wage code implementation, we need to consider basically the logics of the wage code. Here in this case, it works out to be 13,104 rupees. So PF has been reduced as compared to the PF contribution before wage code implementation. However, there is an increase in the gratuity as well. Let us see scenario 3. See right now, basically we are talking about managerial staffs. Suppose, see right now here in this case, can employer restructure the salaries? Yes, employer can restructure the salaries provided they have retained certain clauses in the appointment letter. Else it amounts to the violation of the terms of the appointment letter. Generally, some employees used to retain terms in the agreement like all the salary components are subject to company policies or subject to company applicable rules and regulations that may be merged or withdrawn by the company at its sole discretion without assigning any reason. They will be having different terms. If any such terms has been written in the appointment letter, yes, employers can restructure the salaries to in order to ensure that there will not be any steep hike in the CTC. CTC. Here, one more thing is that SAC contribution above the wage ceiling limit is not mandatory as per the provisions of the scheme stands today. Suppose if companies they have been already been paying PF over and above the wage ceiling limit, they can restrict to the certain wage ceiling limit. Thereby, they can ensure their cost within the control. And also, there is an apex court ruling to that effect, PF contribution above the wage ceiling limit is not mandatory. And there is an apex court ruling to that effect in the case of Marathwada Gramin Bank. Similarly, this we have been already covered. When the bonus is being paid annually, definitely there will be an impact with respect to gratuity. As I told, the person leaves in the month in which he has been received annual bonus. Possibility is some of exclusion is there is a change in the wage for the calculation of gratuity, because there is a possibility the moment bonus is being paid, there is a possibility some of exclusion components will exceed 50% of the total remuneration. And the ESIC calculation which have been told, if it excludes portion of bonus, will also form the part of ESIC wages for calculation of the ESIC. And the maternity benefit act which have been already been discussed that maternity benefit may likely to get reduced, because today we have been paying on the total component. The moment you will be restricting the salaries as inclusion component, exclusion components, exclusion component of their contribution towards ESIC may likely to get reduced, and ESIC may also pay the amount on on which they have been contributed. Thank you all for watching. I look forward to your comments at appreciatefeedback@gmail.com. Thank you.